Over to Boring, back to Haas. Haas takes a shot. Deflected in wood! Rubber! Twine the Eastern Washington Eagles. Hello and welcome back to the Eagles Nest, the Eastern Washington University Hockey Club's podcast. I am the voice of the Eagles on the ice, Tyler Pisani, and I will be your host today. We're going to take a second and chat with the head coach of the BCIHL team, Jason Greenwell. We'll also sit down with the goaltender for the ACHA team, Jake Bowen. He has been the starter from day one for that team, and we'll get his thoughts and learn what it was that brought him over here from Mukilteo, Washington to Cheney, and it's a story that I'm sure some of us at least can relate to. But before we get into that, let's talk about how these teams did last weekend. The BCIHL team, they had the weekend off. The ACHA team, though, on the other hand, they played 3 games in 3 days against 3 different teams. The bright spot was they actually opened up on Friday night against the University of Idaho, a Northern Pacific Hockey Conference club, with a win, their first win of the season. The Eagles are now 1-2 in the NPHC. But the rest of the weekend didn't go the way that they had hoped. They played against Montana Tech on Saturday, losing 4-1, and then hosted Gonzaga on Sunday with a chance to really blow that one open late in the third and actually come back. They were down 6-4 heading into that third period, but gave up 3 goals in the third, and that would undo them. They would go on to drop that game 9-4. Coming up this weekend for the BCIHL team, they host Simon Fraser 2 days this weekend, and not your typical Friday-Saturday matchup instead. Their first game Saturday night at 7 o'clock. The second game for the weekend is actually going to be on Sunday at 5 p.m. against Simon Fraser. These two teams already playing this season. Simon Fraser coming away with wins already against the Eagles. The Eagles still in search of that first win of the season. Still trying to find somebody to replace the league's leading goal scorer, Bo Walker, as he is nursing a lower body injury. And with that being said, we're going to welcome in Travis Allen, the Director of Hockey Operations, and we're going to chat with head coach of your BCIHL Eagles, Jason Greenwell. Coach, it's been a little bit since we've talked to you on this podcast. How's everything going behind the bench for you?
Well, obviously things are moving along, hopefully in the right direction. Not the start that we wanted to the season, but definitely some things looking up in the weeks to come.
Well, and talking about the weeks to come, you guys had this last week off, but this week 2 games against Simon Fraser University, kind of on some unorthodox days. Sunday evening game, something you guys haven't done this season. How does that change your game prep heading into this game?
Honestly, it doesn't. It's just another game to us, and that's the kind of thing I'm trying to install in these guys is that we play Friday, Saturday, we play Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter. It's the same game once that puck drops. There's no difference for us.
Well, and having this last week off, I know that there was some injuries on the team. I don't want to get too deep into them, but I know that there are some fans out there that are wondering, are we going to see Bo Walker or Brett Matthews anytime here soon?
I wouldn't say soon. I would definitely say don't hold your breath. We'll make sure that they're 100% healthy and ready to go when they get back. Last thing I want to do is rush those guys back in the lineup and have something else happen. So we're definitely taking our time with those guys. You might see some other faces come back in the lineup, though. It should be interesting. It was definitely a much-deserved and much-needed week off with the amount of injuries we had, and a good time to heal and really get ready and refocus for this upcoming weekend.
Hey, Coach Travis here. So with those guys out with some injuries and a couple other things going on, is there any new guys or young guys that have stepped up and been kind of a surprise for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some guys that have stepped up as they've had to. You obviously can't look over Paxton Bell. I mean, I know he's not necessarily one of the younger guys on the team, but he's a guy that had to step up into that leadership role and step up into the goal-scoring role, and he's done a fantastic job with 9 or 10 points here through our first 7 games. Austin Breen on the back end has been, I wouldn't say a surprise. He's done exactly what I expected, but maybe a surprise to some with his offensive capabilities. Cole Corson's been a great addition. I mean, I can go down the list, and in all honesty, there's been a lot of these kids that have been been pleasant surprises as far as that goes, and picking up the slack, if you will, for having some top guys out of the lineup.
Well, and one of those guys is a rookie that we didn't see a lot early on in the season, but at your last home game, Jacob Lohman cracked the lineup. Talk about him for a little bit and kind of the impact that he's making on this team.
Yeah, Jake, coming into the training camp, he was definitely a bubble guy, and I had talked to him about being a bubble guy, and he came in and he worked as hard as he could, to get in the lineup and to be on the team. We gave him the option. He decided he wanted to stick it out with us and work his way into the lineup, and he did just that. He got an opportunity to play a couple weeks ago where we had some more injuries. We had some more guys out of the lineup, and then as guys started coming back, he was the guy that not only stayed in the lineup but moved up line. So he's just a character guy. He plays his role exactly the way he needs to. He works hard day in and day out to stay in the lineup, and that's the kind of guy that you look at and he's one heck of a teammate, and he's a guy that you want on your squad as a coach and as a player. So yeah, Jake has definitely stepped up his game, both on and off the ice. He's a fun guy to have around the room. He gets lots of laughs out of the guys, and like I said, he's an all-around character guy for me at this point.
One question that I have for you. Give me one thing that you guys have to do this weekend, or maybe even two.
Well, number one, I would say we have to do our role. All 20 guys have to do your role, and all 20 guys in the lineup. And they just have to buy into the system. That both, forward, defense, offensive zone, defensive zone, neutral zone, all over the ice. They have to buy into each other, into the coaching staff, and we'll find that first win. And the second thing I would say is just to believe, to quit worrying so much and gripping your stick so tight and going out there and wanting to win so bad, but scared of making a mistake, and just believe that it's going to happen and believe that what you're doing is the correct thing to do, and not second guess yourself. So as long as they buy in and believe in each other, I think we'll be just fine.
Well, and there you have it. The word of the weekend is believe for the BCIHL team. Coach, thanks for taking some time for us. I'll let you get back off to game planning for this week, and we'll see you at the URC this Saturday.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'll see you then.
And there you have it, the head coach of the BCIHL team, Jason Greenwell, his team taking the ice twice this weekend, once on Saturday night and once on Sunday night at the URC. The Sunday start time, 5 o'clock. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we will chat with the goaltender for the ACHA team, Jacob Bowen. You keep it right here on the Eagles Nest. And welcome back to the Eagles Nest podcast. Joining us now is the goaltender for the ACHA team, Jake Bowen. And Jake, thanks for taking some time for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, before we get into, talking about the season or talking about anything like that, you're from Mukilteo. I want to know about Jake Bowen. Where'd you play your youth hockey at? Where'd you play before Eastern Washington? And what brought you across the state to Cheney? Give us the Jake Bowen story.
Yeah. So I was actually born in Michigan. Started playing hockey when I was 4 or 5 years old. I bounced around from organization to organization out there playing travel hockey. When I was 13, 14 years old, my family moved out here. I took a year off to kind of settle it out here in the West Coast. And when I got back into it, I played 2 years for a Tier 2 team called the Washington Hornets. And then after that, I played a year for the Everett Junior Silvertips. Now I'm out here.
Nice. And so you played for for Everett. So what brought you to Cheney?
Actually, I started talking to this girl who's now my current girlfriend. And she was a freshman out here last year. And she's a huge fan of hockey. And she was telling me how Eastern's hockey team could use some talent out here. So I decided, hey, what the heck? I've always wanted to play some college hockey. This could be a good experience. So applied to Eastern, got in, tried out, and now I'm here. Yeah. I played out for first couple years, but they threw me in net a couple times. They did a good job, and I just fell in love with the position.
So Jake, Travis here. Welcome to Eastern. Obviously, we love having you here. It's been a great experience so far. What has been your biggest surprise about Eastern so far?
Surprises. Well, I see a lot more of a hockey culture out here than back in the West Side, where I spent my high school years. So that's really fun, getting around people who enjoy the sport as much as I do. It's really great getting to know the boys on the team. And
Well, and something that happened here a couple of weeks ago that I want to talk about. It's something that I don't know that any of us have ever seen before, and I want to know if it's something that's happened to you before. You actually ended up as a goaltender sitting in the penalty box for a few minutes. Was that something you've experienced before, or was that kind of a new situation for you also?
I gotta be honest, that's the first time for me being in a penalty box, so it was definitely a different experience. It's really uncommon. Usually, if I do act up a little bit in the net, maybe one of the boys sits 2 minutes for me, but that's about as far as that's ever went. So it was definitely a huge surprise when the ref told me to go sit in the penalty box for 10 minutes.
Well, and Travis did some digging on this. It's kind of an obscure rule that Travis. How many times did you say that it had been enforced before this that you could find?
Jake Bowen is the 7th player ever in collegiate hockey to have to serve his own penalty in the penalty box.
So there.
Oh, it's a record.
You're top 10 there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a wild game.
I know you've been playing primarily with the ACHA team, but you've got a couple practices with the BC team. Explain, are those guys pretty welcoming to you? I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a competition difference on both sides of it, but how's it like to go from both teams?
Yeah, they've all been very welcoming, having me out there. I know it can be tough sometimes having 3 goalies in a practice and having to cycle through, but yeah, everybody's been just very friendly, very welcoming. They're always encouraging me to do better, try more, stuff like that.
Well, and on this team, you've been the number 1 goaltender since day one, basically, and you've had a couple of different tenders back you up. What's it like working with different tenders in practice?
Yeah, no, it's fun. I like I said, getting to know people, and having more than one backup goalie. It's kind of been difficult because I definitely put more pressure on myself to perform and make sure that I'm there solid, I'm not getting hurt, stuff like that. So having different goaltenders there is kind of frustrating, but at the same time, the 2 goaltenders that have showed up, Kaylee and Tegan, have both been solid players. So it's good having them there, knowing that if something does happen, then I have somebody I can rely on to help the team out.
Okay, so now it's time to play a little game, something we do with all of the players our first time on the podcast. It's called 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I want to know 2 of your strengths and 1 of your weaknesses, from your own eyes.
Let me think. Well, I definitely think one of my strengths is my work ethic. I'm willing to go out there every single time and give them 100%. Kind of piggyback off of that is my determination. I'm not going to give up. My older brother actually is a goaltender too, and he every time I get into a tough situation, I think of words he said. The whole team can give up, but the goalie can never give up. So I have my playing style based off of that. And then one weakness that I've been trying to work on is my communication out there, because I believe that the goalie really quarterbacks the play in the defensive end. So I'm trying to step my communication game and try to help the boys out front, kind of get into their positions and let them know what I need, and where I need them to be and stuff like that.
Well, Jake, thanks for taking some time for us today, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you back out on the ice.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
And there you have it, the goaltender for your ACHA Eagles. Special thanks to Jake Bowen, head coach Jason Greenwell of the BCIHL team, and as always, Travis Allen, the Director of Hockey Operations. That's going to do it for us this week on the Eagles Nest. We'll see you out at the University Recreation Center, 7 o'clock puck drop on Saturday, 5 o'clock on Sunday against Simon Fraser. BCIHL team hoping to follow up what the ACHA team did last week and get their first win of the year and start that march towards the playoffs in the British Columbia Intercollegiate Hockey League. That's going to do it for us tonight. For everybody here at Eastern Washington University Hockey, this is the voice of the Eagles, Tyler Pisani, saying good night and go Eagles.